Welcome back to the Baseball Blue Book podcast. My name is Eric Obenon, the president of the Baseball Blue Book, and excited to head back over to Delaware with Coach Brian August, Wilmington University baseball head coach. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Doing really well. Excited to have you back on. We were just talking about a couple of the clips that we did with you previously, really going viral, and we're excited to get a couple of coaches that has their message resonated with our fans, and I think it's across the board. The more we can get this message out to the parents and the players out there, the better I think it is for the game. But let's talk first of all. I mean, we just finished up a season, and we're kind of in the heat of recruiting. But would love to hear kind of an overview, a recap of your season. I know you guys had a real, finished strong, and then had some disappointing games at the end. But why don't you kind of get us caught up with the season?
Yeah, so it was a roller coaster ride. We had high expectations. It's going to be hard to say this because we won the regular season, and a lot of people think if you got first place in the conference, you're like, that's a really good season. But we were very, very inconsistent. It was frustrating. We had a lot of talent. We had enough depth on the mound. We just weren't playing the best baseball at the right time. It was actually the first time in my career at Wilmington that we went 2-2 in a conference tournament. We were right on the bubble of making the East regions going into the tournament, but it needed to be perfect where everybody above us needed to win. And it didn't work out that way. Obviously, we went 0-2, and then everybody's last seed in all three conferences won the automatic bid. So then they only took the top four. What was very frustrating for us was when we look back into the season, out of the 7 teams that won the region, we 10-run 5 up and one team twice. And that we knew where we could have stood if we got in there. But it's all talk. Yeah. So I'm not sitting here, we should have did this, we should have did that. There was a number of 3 to 4 to 5 games throughout the year just coming back and going unbelievable. If we won that game, or that game's really going to bite us. So it was a frustrating year. Our guys were, I don't know if they were underachieved. They knew we underachieved and could have did better, but it is what it is. There's nothing guaranteed. You got to go out and play, and you got to play well at the right time. So we brought some really good kids in that we've been developing since 2020, fall of 19, which was COVID. So a lot of those guys were 4-year players. A lot of those guys are coming back this year for their 5th year, which is a benefit of COVID. But we did bring some other transfers in that helped us last year for 1 year. They were huge impacts for us. But I think we lost 6 seniors off this team. So we got a really good core coming back, and then we got a lot of really good high school and junior college and then 4-year transfers coming as well. So this year we're excited, but we want to get back to our goal every year is get back to the regionals, and that's what our expectations are this year.
So let's talk about the expectations and then the reality, because baseball seems to be the sport that happens a lot, and understanding the character of players, and when you recruit players, looking for the players that have that win mentality, but also can understand the downs and what can happen. You see it all the time, right? The wild card team in MLB wins the whole thing. The team that's hot throughout the whole year, they flame out at the end. This is a typical baseball thing, but it's not a typical character thing, right? It's not something that is easily handled by normal people, right? So talk about kind of that, and when you're looking for players that maybe can handle something that you know is going to happen, right? Because it's baseball.
I just think that, the toughest, you answered it. The toughest thing is that, we don't know. You just don't know. When you are recruiting kids, you try to see them as much as you can. The closer kids, you can see a lot more. There's kids that you see once, maybe twice. You might see them on a video, and then you might see them live, and then you have them in for a visit and talk to them on the phone 2 or 3 times, and bam, they committed. Yeah. How good do you really know them? Of that kind of stuff. The first thing you look at, obviously, is talent and maybe appearance sometimes. I think at the Division II level, sometimes it it's different than the Division One. The Division One has the looker, you know what I mean? Where I'm talking about the 6'2", 205 type of athlete that everybody wants.
Right.
And we want them to, but I think you get the kid that's a little bit undersized, maybe a kid that's a little bit heavier. I mean, there's all kinds of different things that sometimes the D1 coaches, don't look at. We talked about pitching before, you have the standard of the gun, of what they're recruiting. So when you're looking for the character and all that kind of stuff, that is the toughest thing you're looking at. And when you're talking about why you won that year and why you didn't win the next year, if I knew that, we would never lose. So obviously that's the toughest thing in coaching. That is the toughest thing in recruiting. You just don't know. You get those one year fits that you think's going to come in and maybe they just don't know me. They don't know the program. They don't know the team. They don't know it. So I like the mix of, really my core is a bunch of high school kids, 60% high school kids. Get that quick fix sometimes on some JUCO kids that are going to be there 2, maybe 3 years. And then that D1 transfer most of the time is a 1 year or 2 year guy. A lot of them, because of COVID, you get those grad students, which we are. So yeah. It's harder to fit those guys in, but just because they have to get used to everything, me and the program and the conference and just how everything's run, it's different from the last school they were at.
Yep.
And we always say our junior college kids are our second year. But we've had some really good luck with some 1 year players here. I can tell you that. But I like going through high school and trying to develop the guys and, build them up through the years. When I look back at my real good successes back in, 2011, back to 2015, back to 2019, last year was that next 4 years realistically. And we had some high expectations and it just didn't work out. So there's nothing guaranteed. All we're going to do is get back to work this fall and try to, we think we got a really good class here, talent wise and character wise and kids that are committed and hardworking, discipline, all that stuff that we, put in every single thing. But, until you go through the fall, until you go through the weight room grind, all that kind of stuff. I just actually today, it's August 2nd. I sent out a text to every one of my new guys. I just did it and told them, they already know when we start, when the first meetings are, blah, 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 blah. But we're about a month away. September 5th is when we start. And I just gave them a feedback like, hey, some things that you should be thinking about, some different type of runs, some different type of lifts. Make sure your arm's in pretty good shape. Make sure you're swinging the bat. Make sure you're prepared. So when you come in this fall to compete, you're not behind and you're ready to go. And, you don't get injured and you're just ready to compete at the highest level. So that's, I just gave them, there's kids that played all summer. The thing about baseball too, in the summer, even if you get a high school kid that played Legion ball, like Legion ball is almost over unless you're in the regionals. If you went to a college league from a returner, most of those leagues are over, if not this week. So a lot of times you take off about a month, especially pitchers and stuff like that. And next thing you know, you fire back up. Now in the fall, you never throw more than 1, 2, maybe 3 innings in an inter squad or in a fall game, but you got to be ready. I mean, you don't want to get injured. And a lot of people come back injured because they don't do that much in that last month of the fall, of the summer. So, that's what we're doing. We're excited about the class we got coming in. We obviously already started on 24s as well for the following year. We're looking for talent first, like you said, but we're looking for kids that, care about every single thing. Care about school. Obviously, you got to do good in school. It doesn't matter how good talent you are. If you're not good academically, you have no shot. We look for guys that obviously are really hard workers. You can kind of tell too. I tell them, I said, I want to see a difference when I see you the next time in your body and putting in that time and stuff like that. I just think the weight room really, really, really helps in confidence. It helps with the next level of just taking that next step, especially for returners that come back at freshman or sophomore and then making that big jump. And I agree with what you said earlier about the high school jump to the college. It's monstrous. I mean, the biggest thing I always tell our guys, I said, we get, even at this level, it doesn't matter. We get the best 2 or 3 top 2, 3 kids on each high school team. So you're going from, the second best kid in your whole high school to the 28th kid on this team right away. It doesn't matter. And that's hard for a lot of kids to swallow. You know that. And there's no freshman JV type of level like it was in high school. I mean, you're right on the main team, and you might be the, sixth outfielder. You might be the fourth catcher. You might be the 12th pitcher. I mean, that's not easy. That's not easy when everybody else was their 1, 2, or 3, batting in the top 4 in their lineup, or their 1 or 2 on their pitching staff. So that's a punch in the face sometimes. And just the difference of, the hard work that everybody puts in and everything like that is the biggest jump. And I agree with you. I think kids that go to college are a lot more prepared, basically for the pro game than a kid coming out of high school. There's no doubt about it. It's just it's physically and mentally.
Well,
it's no doubt about
it.
A lot of big jump.
It is. And it's just your development, right? That you have a lot of, it's kids to young men, and a lot of things are happening. You talked a lot about that this month, of kind of a downtime, right? A lot of leagues, some leagues wrapping up right now, and then most programs are starting up in September. What would be your advice? And you talked about the weight room, specifically your advice for that time. I mean, what should kids do that, one, if they haven't found a program, and two, if they have, and they a lot of times they find a program and they kind of sit back and they go, okay, I've committed, I'm good. What is the best advice that you could provide to both of those kids, ones that are still looking and then the other ones that have already committed?
Yeah, I mean, the guys that are committed, that's why I send that, because I think your first initial thing, even sometimes when you sign your thing back in November, high school, and you go through your high school year, obviously you're all ready, but there's some kids that there's always those kids that linger around, like in the summer, going, I'm committed, I'm good, I'm gonna hang out this summer. You're hurting yourself. You're hurting yourself, because you're coming into any program. I don't care what level we're talking about. It's a different level,
Yep.
And if you're not prepared, that's why I send this out now, just in case. You better start thinking about it. And even if it's in the back of their head and they're ready to go, it is what it is. It's a competition, and you got to be ready to go. I think weight room, running, all that kind of stuff is basically what you're doing. I don't have a problem with taking some time off with your arm by any means, but you can't pick up the ball the first time and have a catch in the first day of practice, obviously, in the fall, and I don't think anybody does that. I think everybody swings. They'll get back into it, 2 or 3 weeks right before that starts. But are you talking about a kid that hasn't committed to come to college this fall? I mean, if there's somebody out there right now, it's going to be hard to obviously find a school, right now. But I'm just maybe a junior.
Yeah, I'm just talking maybe a junior. Talk about the guys that.
Yeah, so those kids they got to continue preparing for, this fall for them is huge for to get seen. There's no doubt about it. To be ready for the fall and to be ready to compete that way. And like I say, I mean, the weight room definitely helps with all that. No doubt about it. But they gotta prepare. Just keep grinding. A lot of kids start getting frustrated because other kids have committed and maybe they haven't got talked to as much, or this or that. There's definitely a school for every single kid, every level. There's just so many out there, and you can go D1 to major, to middle, to low major, to D2, same thing, D3s, NAIA, or JUCOs. I mean, there's opportunities for everybody to have a chance to play at the thing. And some kids develop a little earlier, some kids develop a little later. So you just got to grind it out and keep working hard. And only the weight room and working on your game can only help. I mean, it's not going to hurt you. So that's what I would recommend.
When you're talking to recruits and deciding who you want to bring into the program, what are some of the questions that you don't hear enough that you would recommend these guys talk and ask their coaches?
So you mean when I'm on a visit with them and they ask me?
Well,
they don't. A lot of them don't ask. Like, how's it? What's a day consist of during fall practice, or what's this day consist of, or these days kids care about you think I have a great chance to play right away? Do you what kind of scholarship am I getting, type of thing? I mean, it's those two big things, which is obvious, but that's what people really think about. My big sell is development in 3 different aspects: development academically, development as a person, and then development as a baseball player. That's my job. My job is to develop those 3 things. And at the end of the day, I finish every recruiting trip with that. Do you guys trust that me and my staff are going to help you in every aspect to get your degree, to help you along that whole journey? Number two, to become even a better person. Are we going to challenge you to be, a good character person, hardworking, disciplined, and understand, there is a lot of ups and downs, and how are you going to handle all them kind of things? And then number three, do you think if you're a hitter, we're going to make you a better hitter, a better base runner, a better fielder? If you're a pitcher, are we going to make you better this? Is your body going to be better? They're the things that we challenge them to, think about it. And I break it down in other things. I mean, do you want to be go to a school that has a chance to make a regional every single year? Or do you just want to go to a school and be 10-40? That's not fun.
Right.
That's not fun. And I think you understand that. So I think winning is a big sell. Obviously, they're not even on the visit if we don't have their major. So I always break it down into major. But if you're looking for something that we don't offer, that you shouldn't be sitting here. And then playing time is important. My big sell to them is, if a coach tells you that you're starting as a freshman at short and leading off, you better look at their success, because I can guarantee that team's not in the regionals that much, and stuff like that. I always try to sell that to people. There's going to be somebody standing next to you. You got to compete. Obviously, if I give you a really good offer and I'm really on you, we think you got a chance to play right away and compete. But that 21, 22, 23-year-old guy has been in this program longer. He's a lot stronger. He's a lot smarter. He's a lot everything. He's better. And he understands me and the program more than some 18-year-olds. So, sometimes you want a mentor, a captain, or somebody, an older guy to watch and see how everything goes. I mean, there's kids that just don't know they just don't know the grind, if you know what I mean. So, that's what it is.
So, Coach, just a personal question. Coming out of this season, what was it like for you and your staff in preparing for 2024?
Frustrated. We're ready to get back to work. Right when you're done, you have them end of the season meetings, and the guys, we talked about it, and we said, we think we underachieved, but we're ready to work. All our guys know that our coaching staff's one of the most hardworking coaching staffs, and devoted and just energetic and love the game. So we're going to be out there, and we're ready to get after it this fall. Those guys that are returned didn't want to taste that same feeling that they had, obviously, at the end of the year. It's just not used to it. We're not used to that in our program here at University. So our expectations are high again. Our biggest challenge is to get all these new guys that we got coming in, understanding what Wilmington baseball is all about and what the program's all about, what the do's and don'ts are, and get them guys on board, as soon as we can through the fall. And fall ball is important in baseball. I talked to my soccer coach that sits, in the office next to me. His 18-year-old kid's got to be ready in 2 weeks to play their first game. We got all fall, all winter from weight room, and then through the season. I mean, it's a huge advantage. The spring sports have a huge advantage, and we think fall ball is the first step of that. But I always tell the guys, I said, doesn't matter who's starting the first game of the fall, the last game of the fall, the first game of the spring. It's a long grind. It's a long grind, and just keep going through it, and you never know. And somebody's going to get hurt. Somebody's going to get quit. Somebody's going to do this. Somebody's going to do that. So an opening is going to pop up. There's no doubt about it. Just grind it out, and it might be next year. You might be a freshman. There might be a guy in front of you. You might be a stud in the next 3 years. Who knows? But just be ready for when your number's called, and be ready to go out and compete.
That's good.
That's what our program is.
That's good. About. That's good. Coach, you're a big pitching guy, and last time we were talking, we talked about kind of the lost art of pitching. So from thinking from the perspective of talking to 13, 14, 15-year-old guys that haven't really started the recruiting process, trying to figure out where they want to go, what is the best advice that you could have when so many people are pulling them in different directions? There's different trainers, there's different travel coaches. We've gone from having a single high school coach that's kind of the mentor of these players years back to many, many people, right? From the dad to the coach to the travel coach to the trainer. There's so many people. What from your perspective, you've been doing this a long time. You've been seeing a lot of good kids You've developed a lot of great talent. What is some of your best advice that you can give to the younger group that isn't quite yet at that looking at the college level?
Well, I coach my youngest of I got 3 kids. My youngest son's 12 now, and we got some good arms there. Trust me. Some kids are throwing like 76, 78 miles per hour as a 12-year-old, which is unbelievable. But they care about that. So I'm telling you right now, I'm developing change-ups with them, teaching them how to really spin a ball, teaching them how to hold runners, all that kind of stuff. It's going to be hard to always sell it because you have to throw 90-something to play at Vanderbilt or play at Virginia or play at LSU. That's the tough sell. But there's a lot of guys out there that throw 94 these days. There's a lot. Learn how to pitch. Learn how to command your fastball. Learn how to throw that changeup. Learn how to, field your position, hold runners, all that kind of stuff. They're the things I'm teaching at the youngest ages here. But like I said, it's going to be, the guy that throws 94 is going to get to go to SEC compared to the guy that throws 86 and has good changeup, good curveball. It's just how it works. I'm not trying to be that guy, but keep working in the game. You want to develop arm strength. There's no doubt about it, but that's not the only thing. And that's what a lot of these kids care about. That's the only thing a lot of these kids care about. And I want to make sure they become a pitcher as well. Because, I could do it like this, but Paul Skeens on LSU throwing 100, 103 in the World Series. Those guys were still hitting. They were putting the ball in play. Florida's, if he wasn't throwing that curveball and that changeup, he wouldn't have been that thing. The fastball. In the big leagues, it's the same thing. They can hit a fastball. It doesn't matter how hard you throw. Right. Obviously, it does when you comparable to somebody that throws 10 miles per hour slower than you. But, these guys can barrel up a fastball. So you got to be able to pitch. You got to be able to command your fastball. And you obviously be able to throw all your pitches for strikes and go from there. So at the youngest age, I would think about pitching, but also developing, because I know everybody wants to play at the highest level. I understand that. And that's how you're going to get there. That's how you're going to get the look. It doesn't matter how good your curveball or changeup is if you're throwing 85, 86 at 16, 17. Yeah. You got to be throwing 92 or up. So
that's good. That's good advice. I'm gonna stay there because you having a 12-year-old, I think that's really important. A lot of parents are watching our podcast that have kids at that 12, 13, 14, kind of the real defining age of, right? They're starting to pick the sport that they may want to focus on. Just as a parent, not as a coach, but as a parent, what is some advice that you can provide to other parents that don't have the knowledge of the game as you do? And it can be real generic advice or specific as far as what you've seen, just being part of the game at that level.
I actually believe my youngest son plays. He plays all 3 sports. He plays football, basketball, baseball. He plays them all. I love multi-sport athletes. I think it doesn't burn you out in the one sport. I know there's going to be other people that go, all you got to do is play. I think it develops a lot of different, it helps you in a lot of aspects, with your feet, with your hands, with your body, of movements. But it also just gets you to compete in other things that are good.
Right.
I've talked to scouts and different people. Even my older son, like, they wanted to come watch him, wrestle. They wanted to go watch this guy play football. These are baseball pro scouts. They just want to go watch them compete at a different sport. So I'm big on that. My oldest son that just graduated, he's going to University of Delaware. He wrestled, and he wrestled all winter, but he never missed, a travel ball practice all December, January, or February before his high school season. So you can make time. You can play other sports, but still go get your throwing in, go get your weight training in, go get your swings in, whatever. But I think you got to pick a sport by the time, you're probably in high school. I played all the sports, but I knew baseball was my best sport, that I had the best chance to move on for and play in college and stuff like that. So, but I'm a big believer on playing a lot of different sports and just going out and competing and in that aspect. I just don't want kids to get burnt out. I've heard that a lot, and but at the same time, there's probably kids that are getting drafted in the first round and stuff like that, and they've never played another sport. I've had people asking me. My son was a pro prospect this year coming out of high school, and they were like, "Man, you're letting him wrestle?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Don't drive down the street if you're scared to get in an accident. You know what I mean? I mean, it's, just go, just let him be a kid. He's 17 years old, let him go be a kid.
Yeah.
If he wants to play something, go ahead. So that's my philosophy. It might not be right for everybody, but
I think it's.
I personally think it my own oldest son, it's helped him so much in baseball, wrestling. It's one-on-one. It's mentally the toughest sport to grind out. There's no ties. You can go play right field in baseball and go 0 for 3, hit 2 fly balls and a ground out and catch 1 fly ball. Nobody's really talking about you. Basketball, just run up and down the court, played a little D. You might have rebounded, made a layup. Nobody's really talking about your team won. You know what I mean? Wrestling, there ain't no hiding going on. There ain't no hiding. There's a win, loss. That's it.
Yeah.
And I think mentally, we had 2 kids on his high school wrestling team that also were the 2 better kids on his baseball team. And I'm telling you right now, wrestling made them 2 boys mentally tough. And baseball's a tough sport, man. Grinding out, pitching with the game on the line, getting a big hit with bases loaded. You know how it is. And I think other sports really help you with your main sport. So I'm a big advocate on playing a lot of different sports.
It's interesting you bring up wrestling. Wrestling is that it's really truly the individual sport. Everything else is a team sport. But the transition over to baseball is that sport of individual team.
100%.
Right? So it is. You have to. You're thinking about yourself. You have to compete with yourself, but you have this team there. And the wrestling. I come from Iowa, the big wrestling capital, right?
Big time. Big time.
And all my buddies, we were all wrestlers, and it mentally you're in there, and there's nothing that anybody else can do. You're absolutely right. When you're playing right field or whatever, you can always count on other people to pick up the game and most of the time win the game for you, right? And you had nothing to do with the win, and you get to carry the win.
It's a routine fly ball. That's it. Yep.
Exactly. So I think I appreciate that, and again, I love your advice. It's for you and for your kids. It was important to focus on that, and it has nothing to do with other people that decide to go one sport. So I appreciate
I'll give you one more thing in the travel world of 10, 11, 12, 13, 14-year-olds. And I say this all the time. When we go and try to compete with the best teams in this whole region, obviously, we want our kids to face really good pitching. We want our pitchers to face really good hitting, really good teams. I mean, nothing's easy. We don't like, if we blow teams out, then we get nothing out of it. But I want parents to make sure they know nobody cares if you won that 12U travel ball tournament by the time you get to high school and college. Nobody cares. Right. Nobody cares one bit. I don't care. No college coaches care. Nobody cares about nothing. They want to see a kid that's come to a program that has developed, that's got put in tough situations, understands the game, is competitive, wants to win, but nobody cares how many championships you won back in 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old travel ball. Nobody cares. Nobody. They want you being ready for, obviously, the college level and, develop through high school and just bring all those characteristics that you got through those years, but nobody really cares. So don't, a lot of these parents go crazy on these things. I say it after every game. We win a lot of tournaments. Sometimes we don't. It doesn't matter, guys. Right. Let's try to learn off what we did wrong to get better for your next time you're going to compete. That's what we sell. I can tell you that. And we play some pretty good level tournaments and our coaches do a really good job, but that's what we're trying to teach our 12-year-olds right now. Even handling failure, giving up a home run, walking somebody, making an error, striking out with bases loaded. There's a lot of negatives. You have to be able to handle them situations. Be ready to compete because the next big thing you're competing for is your varsity high school team by the time you get to 9th grade. So that's what it's all about. That's what we're selling in our program here.
I think that's great advice. The conversation's a lot about the travel team and the win versus the development. And I think that you bring up a really good point. You can develop in a winning travel team situation, right? You don't have to only focus on one thing. You can bring both to the table, and I think that's really important when parents are looking for travel teams to be in. What is their goals? Is it development or is it winning? And you can want to win, right? That's good.
We want to win more than anybody. I can tell you right now, me and my 2 coaches want to win. We're more competitive than anybody. But at the end of the day, we're trying to develop, 12-year-old kids to get ready for when they're 15. That's what our goal is.
Yeah, at times I talked to another coach. He talked about win awareness. It's players that understand the value of winning. But you know what? You just brought it up. Striking out with bases loaded. that can help you prepare and develop that winning attitude, right? And the adversity and the losses and the difficult times can develop in ways that you really don't understand until it actually happens. I mean, I guess that's life. That's what I love about baseball. Baseball is such an analogy of life, and you can tie so many things into it. If we were all happy with winning 33% of the times in our life, I think we'd be a lot happier out here instead of constantly thinking we got to win at all times. There's reasons and there's ways of taking losses and turning them into victories personally. So, Coach, this has been a lot of fun. I appreciate it jumping on with us for the second time, and we appreciate your support of the Baseball Blue Book. We're excited to see your next season, and we're going to continue to put out those clips and continue to get you some exposure. And I'll tell you what, people love you. Your attitude is man, it's awesome. It's a coach that loves his players, a coach that wants to win, works hard, and he carries it into his personal life, raising his boys. And I think that's something for you guys to really think about when you're looking at a coach and then looking at a program, is what you're handing over your kids over to somebody else to kind of carry the mantle, right? You're now doing the next step, and I think that's really important. I really appreciate you and your commitment to that, Coach.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, take care. Have a great day.
You too.